I'm going to show off a feature in here. There's actually a page in the screen here, and I might even see if I can pull it up on an owner's manual on here. But what I can tell you is if you go to your features, page 4, and I believe that's universal. If not, what you're looking for is a feature called effects. And here's what I've done in the past. I have played songs. You've all heard me play Besame Mucho, where I start off with this guitar sound. Okay. Let me just put it on this so I can see all of you. All right. And what happens is you hear that delay is what we call it. And you can hear the guitar. Now normally, when you play the notes like that, it sounds like there's just way too much delay on that. But when you're actually playing the song, it does not, it kind of works for you. So as you can see, by playing those notes, and it allows you to play a little bit on the staccato side, and it gives us a guitar effect where it does this delayed kind of echoey effect where it almost sounds like it's intentional. Okay? And it also covers up some of your mistakes too. It almost makes a mistake sound like it's natural. Okay? But as I'm playing the song, when I play that song, people don't come up and go, you know, there was a lot of delay on that guitar sound. Listen. All right, so if you heard me play that song before, that's what I'm doing something on the guitar. I'm going to show you how I'm getting that, by the way. That's the point of all this. There's another song that I play. I don't play it very often, but I also go in and I change the guitar sounds. Here's a... Now you hear a lot of echo going on in that? Shake of heads, all right. But I also have something else going on in there that I'll tell you. But as I'm playing the song, I'll play it maybe all the way through in a little bit, but just listen to the guitar. Listen closely. Now, let's see if you can hear the difference online. This will be the trick. I'm going to turn off the effect. Now, here's the guitar sound. Now, here's that same guitar. See if you could hear the difference. Now, watch. I'm going to turn that what we call effect. It's what's called a flanger effect, which gives it a kind of a weird wavy. It's the best way to explain it. Now, what I'm going to do, and I did this in one of my classes last week, because I can try to wheel up the organ close to the window. That might not work as well. If you have a, oh wait, wrong file on my computer, sorry. Go to Marquee. I know I have that manual in the book on my computer. Manual. go. Give me 1 minute, please. I closed it out last week. Oh, there we go. Okay. So in one of the workshops I did last week for the elite members, now, if you have a Patriot manual, a Rialto manual, some of those A-series manuals, if you have them on a USB, I believe those manuals, I know the Marquis does, and I believe the Rialto does, and I'm almost certain the Patriot manual does. The Symphony's been revised, so it doesn't, but what I do is if I can find a copy of the PDF, this is a pretty cool feature. A lot of people like the hard manual, but I also like having this as well. Stan, can you see that? Okay, nod. I only see like 4 of you when I do the screen share. So, Carolyn, you see it as well? The picture of the manual?
I can see your screen, but I don't see anything written on your screen.
Do you see where it says Lowrey Marquis?
Yeah, see that.
Yeah, that's what I want you to see. Okay, so these manuals, if you have them on your USB or your computer, what it does is it allows you to navigate through your owner's manual instead of flipping through the pages. So, for example, if I want to see what's in this section here, you see it says Go to 85. I click on it and it brings me right to that. All right, so it's a nice little feature. Now I'm going to go to the home position. Now, I've got to find the feature where it says Effects. Now, I might be able to look for it. Let's see if it comes up when I type it. See if anything. I'm typing the word effects. Now, did you notice the screen kind of popped up? You see everything that's sitting in yellow there? Sometimes the computers, when you have this way to do that. Now, this, I think this might be what I'm looking for, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to click on that. But before I go on, Carolyn, do you see that yellow highlighted?
Sure do.
Okay. So what happened was I wasn't really quite sure where to look. So when I opened it up as a PDF, I just typed in the word effects and did a search, and it pulls up anywhere there might be the word effects. Look at that. They're all over the place. And you'll see over here on this left side, there's all these pages. But I think if I click this, I'm keep my fingers crossed. Oh, perfect. So this is really cool. So now I'm going to take off this screen so I can get my full, there we go. So page 4, and I believe all of the models that are represented today, everybody that I looked at that's on, is able to do this. And what you have is what's called effects. And pretty much, and before you ask the question, if you have a Stardust, a Royale, SU series, the question that I get is, do I have this? The answer is yes. If I have a Sterling, Liberty, Imperial, Symphony, Patriot, A series, the answer is yes. If you have the, obviously the EX, yes. Yes. And I believe, let me go to, yep, on the Rialto, all of the, everybody who's on here, from what I could tell, has this feature. And what it does is it takes the sound that you have on. Now let's see if I can zoom in on this. It looks a little blurry to begin with, but all right. And you see it says Orchestra 1, Orchestra 2, Solo 1, Solo 2. Everybody has those buttons on their model. And this is something that's kind of fun to do. That, and the great thing is, if you experiment with this and you don't like it, you can always turn it off and go back to the home setting. So experiment. And here's what I did. So I find a sound like I did in my Bessima Mucho guitar. Now what I'm going to do is turn it off. I have a guitar sound on, and then I go to this feature called Effects. Let's see if it gives you any other options. Okay, it only gives you one option here, Auto Pan. but I'm going to come back to the screen in a minute. You'll see you have the option of changing. Where did it go? Bear with me. Oh, there it is. So you see, can you see that over here? All right. I'm going to put a little circle here. You ready for this? I'm high tech here. High tech Robert, they call me. Okay. All right. So y'all see that? Those are all the different effects you can add to your instruments. Now I'm going to leave that up there for a moment. If you want to write this down, or I guess I can, when I put this up on the YouTube, you can always pause it and then write it down. But I don't know what page is on all the owner's manuals, but this is the effect. On the screen, it's page 4. All right. Now what I'm going to do, get off that screen for a minute. What I'm going to fool with is this one, the delay, for now. All right. Let me stop the screen share. Okay. So here is the guitar sound in Bass y Mucho. Now I have the reverb up, but we'll turn that down a little bit so you can just hear the guitar. All right. Now, listen to the difference. You hear the difference? I'm going to turn it off. The delay, the way I have it set, gives us multiple echo delay, what they call it a delay effect. All right. Now, sometimes when you put that effect on your instrument, it doesn't always give it that much delay. This was me programming the sound with the delay effect and adjusting it to get it on purpose. And I've had some people go, well, how do you know how to get it to the way you want it? You know how I did it? You ready for this? I just kept pushing the buttons around until I went, oh, okay, I like it like that. It's exactly what I did. Now, let me pull up the manual here. Let's see if it shows me the same option. Amount delay feedback. Okay, you know what? I got a better idea. Check this out, guys. You are going to like this. Okay. All right. I took 2 pictures with my phone. I'm going to share both of those photos to my computer. And then I'm going to share it with you on the screen here. Ooh, it even put them in the same group. Okay, are you ready? I don't know why I'm so excited about this, but probably because I just figured this out a week ago, and it worked. Okay, so you see that screen there? That's what I currently have on now. It's pretty much similar on all the models, okay? It might look cosmetically slightly different on the EX models, but overall they're the same. So right now you could see my guitar sound that I have on, okay, is on, and I have a delay sound. If I turn that off, when I press that button, it'll turn it off, and it'll sound like what I just showed you. On, you hear the extra delay in there. Now, what happens is all those features that I showed you, those different effects, you can edit them. So you see here it says solo. Now in the EX series, I believe you have 2 solo options, and you could have, and so forth, the lower and the upper genius. I'm using just the orchestra right now. This is the most common, and then sometimes on the solo. Actually, I must have a delay in the solo here, too. Let's see. I have a pan flute. So you can see I have a lot of delay on that as well. And what I did to edit it, I simply press edit. And when you do, a screen like this is going to show up. Now, guys and gals, this is just the delay option, okay? All right, you see that? So once I press edit, this screen will show up. And it says delay, amount, delay time, and feedback. So a lot of times when I teach something like this, a lot of people go, well, how do you know what to make that number? And how do you know what to do that? And the answer is I have no darn clue. What I do is I put on the sound and I start increasing these numbers up and down until I get to the point where I go, oh, well, that's not too bad. So right now that's at 85, 41, and 41. So that's this guitar. All right. Now, I'm going to do something that's probably going to make it sound really echoey, I think. Delay time. I'm going to turn that number up to 80. A number that probably will sound significantly different. Now, you ready for this? I'm going to see what happens. Now, did you hear a difference? You notice the delay time. Whoa, it takes forever. Now, I probably wouldn't do that song with that. It might be a little bit too much for my taste. I'm going to bring it back down to 41. Amount means how much delay you want, I think. Again, what's the right one? I have no idea. Let me turn it down to 40 instead of 85. So you could barely hear the delay in there, but it's in the background. So you can just adjust and change these however you want. It's at 85. I'll bring it back. So as I'm playing, watch my hands. When I play a song like this, I don't go. So if you do that, you won't hear the echo. So when I play the song, a lot of people think I'm getting real fancy with the sound and the shaking of the hands. It's not triggering that delay. You see how I did that? So again, if you're using these effects, there is no right or wrong to it. The only wrong is if you don't touch it at all, because you can always turn that feature off if you don't want it. Another example I had was this one. You hear all the little echoes in there? Now that number, I'm looking at the screen there. Now let me pull up the one that I had for Besame Mucho. So I had a guitar, a Latin guitar, like a nylon string guitar, and that's how I had that for that guitar sound. Okay? The one that I'm playing for Over the Rainbow, I have a jazz guitar sound on. The amount here is 47. The delay is 72, and this number is 50. So it's a little different. Let me see if I can. See if I can do this here. What number did I say this one was? 47. Good answer. Okay, let me change that to a different color so you could see it. And then I said this number was, do you remember what number I said? Gary, you were thinking 72. Good answer. And then this one, 50. Just all right. So what you're seeing on the screen right now, this actual number was a setting I used for the Latin guitar sound that I did for Besame Mucho, which sounded like this. And I start that song off without a rhythm first. On Over the Rainbow, I put on some jazz guitar sounds, and I did, let me bring it back. And I used the numbers you see that's in red, 47, 72, 50. So you'll see the delay time is a little further, the amount is not as much, and I don't know what feedback means. I just kept fooling with the numbers until I said, okay, that sounds good. So this is the effect you get. You hear? So you see how that, and then I'll start the song off and I go. Now listen to that guitar sound. Now I did something different with that one, and I'll show you what I did. Let me take the screen off, and I'm going to go back to the manual for a moment.
Smart.
Did I choose the manual? All right, can you see that rotary chorus ensemble stand? Do you see that? Okay. All right, so this right here, where is it? Flanger. When I first saw this on an organ, I thought, wow, that's funny, because I came from a rock and roll guitar playing background. We always used this effect for our guitar sounds. And it was just a nice way of making our guitar sound a little bit fancier. Okay? They're all different effects. Some you'll like, some you won't, some you can change. It doesn't matter. The point is just touch and scroll, and if you don't like it, you can always turn it off. Now here's what I did. I'm going to take a couple pictures.
Amazing.
What's that?
Amazing.
Let me take a picture. Let me take another picture. Okay. Share it to my Mac. It's coming up. I heard a boop, boop, boop. Open. Okay. So, let me pull up that screen. I think it's this one. I have two of them that look the same now. Okay. So for Over the Rainbow, as I'm going to play it for you, I have a jazz guitar sound on, just a simple, nice jazz guitar number 2. And normally it sounds like this, which is not bad on its own. Okay, it's I'll play it with the rhythm for a minute. It's just a really pretty sound. However, what I did is I turned this one, instead of delay, I put flanger. Okay, and I turned it on, and then what happens is the screen comes up, and this is a little different now. Now you're going to get this. It's going to sound like this. Now it's very subtle, but listen to it. It's kind of like a wavy stereo effect. And it's not so much that it sounds out of control. You'll notice I have very little amount of it, 37. The depth, now this rate number, you'll notice is very low. Watch what happens when I put this number at from 4, and we'll go up to 50. And I'm going to tell you, I haven't done this in a while, but my guess is it's going to be very annoying. But I want you to hear what it's doing. So I'm going to hit Edit, go to number 4. Here's the way it is. Now I'm going to put it up to 50, just so you could hear the difference of what happens. That was terrible. It's not even annoying. That's just not usable. So people, why would you be able to go up to 100? I don't know. If you combine these numbers a certain way, you might get a different effect. But let me just scroll back down to 20. It's still a little bit for my taste. So that's why that number's low. Here's 10. A little bit more noticeable, but not intolerable. Is that a word? Actually, that particular effect is commonly used, right? That setting right there. This number, I put it at 10. I don't know that it would go higher than that. Now here's with it off completely, so you could hear the difference. Ready? Here's with it on. So that's the way I have it right now. This number here is at 10, but I like it at 4. I think it was when I was fooling with this, I just kept doing it. But here's the trick. If you're messing with this feature, here's my, I don't want to call it a caution, but it's kind of a keep in mind. When you've got an instrument on from the orchestral and you're going into that effects screen and you want to experiment with changing the way that sound is, don't just change it and then try to make a decision from there. Sometimes you have to try it with a rhythm, because if I put this number up to 10 or 11, I may not like it just like as it is. And I might go, that sounds kind of weird. But when you try it with a rhythm, it gets masked a little bit, and it gives you that effect that you want. Listen. So you can experiment with it. Always try it with a sound. Now that number's on 6. I think I actually like that one better than what I had it. So the same thing when I played the Besame Mucho. Earlier, I don't know if you caught it, but I said the pan flute on the bottom had a lot of delay. See? But when you're playing the song, so when you're playing it with the band, those effects work a little differently to the ears. So what I'm going to leave you with is this. A couple little setup tips, and I don't have the music handy. Again, I wasn't prepared for this today. So what I am going to tell you is a very quick setup tip that I did for Over the Rainbow. Okay? I have, let me look at my presets here. I have a total of 4 setups, and they all use a jazz guitar sound. The style that I'm using is a style that many of you know. It's called Serenade. However, Serenade, if you have it as the full band, it sounds like this. You're all familiar with that, right? Those are those fills that complement the song Moonlight Serenade. But I don't want to play Over the Rainbow with a Moonlight Serenade sound. So what I did for all these settings is I put on the Serenade style. I've got it at a tempo of 66. And I turn off the Orchestra Plus. So this sounds like this. All right? Now listen to the band. Here's the first setup, just the drummer. It's actually the second setup. Number 3. Hear the drummer? 4. And 5. All right? And what I have is the jazz guitar. And what I did is I go back from a delay to what we call a flanger guitar to a flanger guitar. Now check this one out. Ready? See if you can catch what you hear, the difference. Do you hear that? Anybody tell me what they hear?
Delay.
There's a guitar sound, but what else is happening?
Delay.
There's the delay, but now listen closely.
Oh. Oh, it's cool.
I'll give you a hint.
Oh.
Strings, you say.
Guitar.
Strings, you say, Gary?
Sure.
Good guess, Gary. I
Yeah,
knew
thank
you were
you.
going to get it. But they're not just ordinary strings. This is a fun one. Actually, Marco does this in a lot, some of his settings. It's called strings crescendo, which basically means if I played those notes staccato for a second, you may not hear the string. No string. But the crescendo, it's meant to fade in as you're holding the note. Because a guitar sound, if you hold the guitar long enough, it'll eventually fade away. See?
Yeah.
It eventually fades away. But if you put on a crescendo string with it, it fades in. So, what I did with this song here is I start off with just a guitar, no band. And I'm going to play this all the way through in the end. On the my second setting here, I actually bring in the band without the Orchestra Plus, and I have the guitar sound as a flanger. All right? And then on the third one, I forgot what I did. Let's listen to it. I changed the drummer or something from drum variation, but I went back to the other one. And then on 4 and 5, I have the jazz guitar with the crescendo strings. So some very basic settings. But let me tell you how I got the idea for this song. I featured the song once or twice over the years. Very rarely do I feature the song. But this, because I have many different ways of playing it. Over a song like Over the Rainbow, you can play it with a soft and easy, love ballad. I mean, there's so many styles that you can do it with. But way back, and you're probably going to laugh when I say way back, you're probably thinking, oh, he's going to say way back in the 40s or something. No, way back in the 80s. That's way back for me, I guess. I don't remember if it's the 80s. I think it was. There was a, let me look it up actually.
Here's Sleepless in Seattle.
1993. Sleepless in Seattle. I looked it up on my phone. With Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, I think it was. At the very end, I think somewhere towards the end, Over the Rainbow was being played in the background of the movie in a very nice, slow swing, kind of a standard feel. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, now that's a great arrangement. I have to go back and listen to it, but that's kind of how I was inspired by it. So instead of using your typical ballads and what have you, you're going to hear that style. All right? So before I do it, play it all the way through. Does anybody have any questions today? I did a lot of talking, but I didn't stop and... This is what happens when you put me on the spot. Anything whatsoever about these, especially this feature page. Let me bring it back up here. So this feature page looks very similar to all, it's on all the models. So when you go to your feature on the organ, the feature clear button, when you activate the feature button, this page right here where it says feature, you'll see this person's hand. All right. And then you have the option of which sounds you want to make an adjustment on. I believe on the SU, A and the SU, there's just one solo button, and that's okay. And all of the models have Orchestra 1 and 2, and I believe all of them have these two options. And then what you do is you select one of these effects that you want to try to experiment with. Okay? And then you go, once you get to the one you want to adjust, there's a little edit option. And then the screen will come up with, they're not always going to say the same thing, okay? A lot of times it'll say amount, sometimes they'll say rate and depth, sometimes these words are a little different. And what you do is you just increase the numbers or decrease the numbers with a sound. Now it's best to do it with a sound that you want to have some fun with. I tend to use guitars a lot because in the guitar world, I have a feeling a lot of these effects were inspired by guitar, what's happened in the guitar world. If you think back in the, I want to say, late 60s, back in the days of the rock and roll bands that were up and rising from, you know, like the Beatles even, Jimi Hendrix, and those bands that, you know, the Eric Clapton, when they were playing their guitars, what made them stand out is they started using these effects on their guitar sounds. And it would create these different effects, like Jimi Hendrix was known to use the wah-wah. So they have that feature on there. And then there was a chorus sound and so forth. So a lot of these effects will work great to experiment with guitar first. That's your little hint. If you want to experiment with it, find a jazz guitar, acoustic guitar, or a a nylon string guitar, try one of those effects, and then just alter the numbers, okay? And then you'll get to the point where you're going to find something, you go, I don't like that. But if it happens what happens to me, you'll get one that you go, ooh, I really like that. And you know what I do? I save it right away on a preset. Some of those settings you saw on the screen that were mine were a result of I forgot to save it, and then I had to go back and try to remember what I did, and then when I got it, I saved it. So that's my little hint for you if you want to use it. Now what I'm going to do is play the song Over the Rainbow, featuring those setups and some of those listens for the flanger guitar to the delay guitar and back and forth with the crescendo strings. And I'm going to start off without the rhythm, and then I'll kick in the rhythm. So here we go. Well, hope that worked out for you. If anything, you got hopefully a nice little miniature concert there. Yeah, I like thumbs up. Does that mean turn it up, Gary?
No,
No.
good job.
No. Now emoji thumbs up, I can figure that out. But if you start doing this, then I think you want to turn it up.
And
But anyway.
smile, and smile.
All right. And I got some hand clapping there. All right. Well, I have to tell you, I hope it worked out for you. But literally, about 5 minutes before the start time, I was all set up, and I thought, I wonder if he's going to be much longer with this customer. And I thought, you know what? I have a feeling he isn't. I better think of something really fast. So this is what happens when I'm put on the spot. Hopefully that worked out well for you today, and you enjoyed the class. I will upload this class tonight, so be on the lookout. Because I know that there's going to be some of the things I talked about. You're going to have to go back to the organ, try to remember what I said, and hopefully when you can go back and play it, pause it on some of the screens, what have you. But it's kind of fun. But I'm going to remind you, if you want to experiment with some of these effects, it's best to start off with some of the guitar sounds. The nylon guitar sounds are some of the best to start off with. Jazz guitar is like a nylon string, and there's a nylon, there's a Spanish guitar, the Latin guitars, a lot of those guitar sounds. And just have some fun with that at first, because those effects work very well with those no matter what. They may not necessarily work well with a piano. They may not necessarily work with some of the other instruments, but guitar is a commonly used one. I have in my home all sorts of pedals with all of those effects, flanger, delay, chorus, you name it. And a lot of guitar players have those effects. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for my last minute stuff. Keep playing music, stay safe, and
God bless. Take care.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate it.